After I read this article, anybody who still believes that Fox or Fox News is really serious news and not entertainment ought to have his head examined. Destroying his legacy, Fox News host urged White House to act during January 6th riot. Now remember, the founding fathers wrote the First Amendment for a reason. you know, an important reason, because during the time they were founding this nation, they looked around the world and they saw that governments can be repressive, using the armies and so forth. And also, governments will go after the press. Back in those days, you didn't have TV or radio, so it was printing press. And government had the power to destroy the press or lock people up who print anything against the king back in those days. And the founders of this nation didn't want that. So they wanted to keep the press separate so the press can keep an eye on the people in power, you see, and that they can come to the American people and the people of this country and say, this is what's going on, you see. So the press is a very important means by looking at government, seeing what they're doing, not getting in bed with them. That's not how it's supposed to be. But anyway, here this is destroying his legacy. Fox News host urged White House to act during January 6th riot, committee reveals. As a mob of Donald Trump supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, White House Chief of Staff Meadows received texts from multiple Fox News hosts. Imagine that. Imagine if they were getting multiple from CNN or CBS or even NBC. Right? And the president's son urging him to convince Trump to issue a statement condemning the violence. According to the House Select Committee investigating the attack, the text messages are among thousands of documents Meadows has turned over to the committee. According to Vice Chair Liz Cheney, Republican Wyoming, who revealed the messages Monday evening as the panel gathered to pass a resolution to hold Meadows in contempt of Congress. Cheney said Meadows, who served as Trump's chief of staff during his final months in office, turned over thousands of emails and text messages as part of a previous agreement to cooperate with the panel, but he has refused to testify, despite being ordered to do so by a subpoena. Meadows' attorney said the former top White House aide believes his attorney is protected by executive privilege. Yeah, right. Well, the way you do it is you go up there and you say, well, I plead the fifth. I'm here, but I'm not saying anything. Mark, the president needs to tell people in the Capitol to go home. This is hurting all of us. He is destroying his legacy, Cheney said as she read out loud a text from Fox News host Laura Ingraham. Please get him on TV. Destroying everything you have accomplished, wrote Brian Kilmeade of Fox and Friends. Sean Hannity, another Fox News star, asked if Trump could make a statement asking people to leave the Capitol. Now, this is very important. The fact that they believe that Trump could turn everything around says a lot. That these people really seriously believe Trump sent them there. Cheney also described multiple texts Meadows received from Donald Trump Jr., similarly urging the president to take action. Imagine that he's a son and he can't even get in touch with his own father. He can't even say, "Hey, Daddy, why don't you do that?" He has to go through the president chief of staff. He's got to condemn this, and the word is shit as soon as possible, ASAP. Trump's eldest son wrote to Meadows, who replied, "I am pushing it hard. I agree." Cheney, a prominent GOP critic of Trump's action that day, concluded, "These text messages leave no doubt the White House knew exactly what was happening at the Capitol. Some of those messages stand in contrast to how some Republican lawmakers, as well as Fox News stars like Tucker Carlson, have portrayed the violent attack on Capitol Hill." Yeah, they try to say it's Antifa. Two Fox News contributors recently quit over a special that downplayed the assault. The revelations came as the House panel voted Monday to make Meadows the third Trump ally it referred for possible criminal penalties for refusing to cooperate with its investigation. The specific text messages revealed by Cheney ahead of Monday's vote are the latest details to emerge after Meadows' communications leading up and during the deadly riot by Trump supporters who sought to overturn the results of last year's presidential election. Now, in any other country, somebody who's trying to overturn an election would be in prison. You know, they should be in prison by now. In a report issued on Sunday night ahead of the contempt vote, the committee described several specific messages about which it had planned to question Meadows about last week when he failed to show up for a scheduled deposition. Among the documents described in the contempt report is a January 5th email in which Meadows indicated that the National Guard would be present at the Capitol the following day to protect pro-Trump people. Wow. To protect them, not to protect the Congress people, but to protect Trump. That's very troubling. The National Guard to protect people who went to the Capitol, smashing windows, smashing glass, smashing doors, and they should be protected. Wow. It's not clear who was the recipient of this message from Meadows or what it was based on. So that's why he needs to go up there and answer that question. Who's the National Guard? Who are you telling that the National Guard is going to protect pro-Trump people? But it comes amid renewed scrutiny of who is to blame for the National Guard's delayed response to requests for help, probably Trump, from the Capitol Police during the riots. One of the main questions for congressional reporters is whether Trump played any role in that delay. The comment matches up with congressional testimony given by former acting Defense Secretary Christopher Miller in May, in which he described a conversation with Trump on January 3rd, in which the president told him to do whatever was necessary to protect the demonstrators that were executing their constitutionally protected rights. Other messages cited in the contempt report include text messages between Meadows and individuals, including members of Congress, on January 6, before, during, and after pro-Trump insurrectionists stormed the Capitol. The report also referenced text messages Meadows sent to and received from an organizer of the rally, where Trump spoke near the White House before the attack. In addition to correspondence pertaining specifically to January 6, the Select Committee also described several emails and text messages produced by Meadows that could shed new light on Trump's attempt to undermine the 2020 election. including messages regarding encouraging Republican legislators in certain key states to send alternate slates of electors to Congress. And this goes on and on. What it comes down to is you have a slew of people who work for Fox who are in cahoots with the White House. You see, that's not how it's supposed to be. You know? According to the First Amendment, the press is supposed to act like they're supposed to keep a check on the government and see what's going on. You see, and report to the people. Freedom of the press, not to spout propaganda, not to act like state media, like you see in China. That happens. China has state media. That's why people don't know the truth in China. You know, I remember many years ago, must have been like maybe, let me see, probably going back to 2008 or so forth. There was somebody in China I used to chat with, and there was an earthquake in Sichuan province, and there was like a school for like the well-to-do, the people, like in the CCP, the Chinese government, Communist Party, where they send their kids to school, and there was another building right next door where regular people send their kids to school. And during the earthquake, the building where the regular people send their kids to school, that building collapsed and killed a lot of kids. And the building where the Chinese officials of the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, and the well-to-do sent that building was still standing. And the reason I'm telling this story is to show how the Chinese government can control what goes on. So I sent a picture to someone in China, a lady in China, to show the building, and it was blurred out. When she looked at the email, she couldn't see it. She told me, I can't see the picture. Everything is blurry. So the Chinese censor, they got into my email, right? Imagine that. They got into my email, and they were able to blur out. They let the image go through, but it was blurred out. And this is a true story. And she told me, I can't see the picture. And I had to tell her, well, what was going on, that there are two schools right there in Sichuan. One for like where the like CCP and other highfalutin people send their kids. That building was still standing, and the other building that collapsed, the other school, was regular people. And the thing is, at that time in China, going back to 2008, now it was still under the one-child policy. So that means if you lost a child. If you lost a child in that building, that's it. Chances are, depending on how old you are. Because with the one-child policy, where depending on where you live in China, you're forced to only have one child. If your child is dead, that's it for you. And in China, people usually depend on their kids when they get older, to take care of them. So it's not just a matter of having a child, but it's a matter of having somebody in your old age. It's not like in America where you have home care. Let's say you get old here in America, you have home care. Okay, that you don't have any kids or anybody like that. You could still have home care. Somebody from the government, a social worker, are gonna come visit you, send somebody, give you a few hours, take care of you during the day, make some meals for you. In America, it's different here, So whether you have kids or not in America, it really doesn't matter, because in your old age, you could still rely and get some kind of home care. But that's not the case in China. It's very different. Now, getting back to this same lady, she was working for a company that's an affiliate of NASDAQ in New York, and they're in China, and she was sent to work outside of China. She was sent to Tokyo in Japan, and she was amazed. Now remember, this is going back to like around 2008 and before, and she told me she was able to see things in the news because she studied English. She was able to pull things up like with search engines and so forth. She was able to read news that she could never read in China. Yeah, that's what she told me. She said, I see things that really open my eyes. News that I never see before. Because there she was in Tokyo, Japan. And in Japan, you don't have that. You don't have these kind of censoring the news and so forth, you know. No. You have more of a free press, like in the United States, in Japan. And she was able to see that stuff. So when she went back home to China, she realized how closed off China is and how the government suppresses the truth in China. And unfortunately, Fox News is not really news, and they have a very high rating, and many of the people who listen to them, they don't want to listen to any other news source because they believe what anybody else saying is propaganda. They believe what the New York Times print is propaganda. They believe what they hear in CNN or NBC is propaganda. That's not true. And they believe what is real is on Fox. And if you look at Fox carefully, and you look at the news division where there's still some people, you know, who read the news, right? On Fox, who read the truth, the news as it should be. And then later on, if you listen to like Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, they contradict what the news people say early in the day. You see? So, I mean, you don't even have to attack CNN or NBC. You can just look at their news division, their real news division, that tells you the real news. And then when you listen to Hannity and Laura Ingraham and all these people who were texting the White House and so forth, these people are pundits, and they're more into entertainment. So Fox is really an entertainment medium. It has nothing to do with news, because it takes real news and then distorts it, and it doesn't tell people the truth, you know. And it's like, okay, they get all these high ratings. It's just like maybe like there's a verse in the Bible that says, you know, like the road is very wide that will take you to hell or something like that. You see, and it's very narrow to heaven. You see, so it's like it's easier to get on a wide road than on a narrow road that will take you to heaven. And that's how Fox is, really. You see, so you have a lot of people on a wide road, and they really believe the propaganda that's spilled to them, and they can't tell the difference between truth and propaganda. And that's really unfortunate. And then they come out as the most listened, the most viewed to network. They get high ratings, and they get high ratings because what they're saying is really propaganda. You're not supposed to be calling the White House and saying this is going to destroy your legacy. No. If you're on the media, you're supposed to let that play out, and then you report on it. You're not supposed to be calling up the White House and saying, you know, this is just going to destroy your legacy. You're supposed to be impartial because you report on the news. If you see something's going to happen, no, you don't step in. You're not a police officer to see a crime is going to be committed and you stop somebody from being killed. No, you're supposed to sit back, see what's happening, and then you report on it. That is the way it's supposed to happen, not the other way around.